Did China just kill Bitcoin?
China.
China.
China. China. China. China.
China.
China. China. China.
Some incredibly bearish news coming out of China as they intensify on their banning of crypto mining, as well as the third largest bank in Asia, the Agriculture Bank of China, suspends crypto-related transactions. What does this mean for Bitcoin in the long term? And what does it mean for Bitcoin in the short term? Is this the death of Bitcoin? We have a lot to cover in this week's show, and I want to make sure that you understand everything that's happening with the news today and whether it should be a real concern for you. So if you'd like to stay up to date on everything related to crypto, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, turn on the post notification, do all that good stuff. What's up, guys? My name is Adam Winnig, and in this episode, we're going to be talking a lot about what's happening in China as it regards to the cryptocurrency space, as well as give you a total overall update on what's happened over the weekend with the news in cryptocurrency, and we're going to break down some of the charts just to give you an idea. But today, we're going to focus a lot on what's actually happening in China. Before we do so, let me just give you a quick rundown of what's happening. As you can see, it's a bloody red day. Bitcoin down 4.3%, Ethereum down 6%. On the 7-day, Bitcoin down 20%, Ethereum down 23%. It's just not looking good, and there is an insane amount of FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt in the market. And let's get in and let's actually talk about what's actually happening. But before we do that, let's take a look at some of these key charts here. We see the total market cap, which is for the first time really in a while dipped below 1.4 trillion. We do see on the weekly chart, this is the weekly chart here, we could see that this could be forming like a bat wing pattern or like a double bottom pattern. It'll be interesting to see how this candle closes out. As well, here we see that Bitcoin is kind of driving the market here. And I'll talk a little bit about why that's happening here. Again, we see kind of this double bottom possibly. We'll see what happens. It's not looking pretty right there. We see Bitcoin on the daily has just been trading through this range, and we see this death cross, the 50 and 200-day moving average, which is crossed right here, which has not been a good sign in the past. Bitcoin has dropped by an additional 50%. Do we see that happening here? I don't know. Let's see, Ethereum, same sort of thing happening on the weekly and the daily. Everything's kind of just following what's happening with Bitcoin. So let's talk about this for a second, okay? So here's the news that came out. It says that Bitcoin drops as China intensifies on their crypto mining crackdown. Bitcoin fell 7% all the way down to $32,000 Monday morning, dropping below $33,000 for the first time since June 8th. Which when you think about it, it's not that long ago. That was like last week, right? China's crackdown on cryptocurrency mining has extended to the southwestern province of Sichuan. There appears to be a serious decline in Bitcoin's hash rate or processing power. For those of you guys that are unfamiliar with what the hash rate is, that's basically how difficult it is to mine a Bitcoin. So let's talk about this. What's actually happened? Well, the Chinese government has come into these massive Bitcoin mining facilities and have started to shut down facilities. So a lot of miners are now completely shut down. I mean, if you think about these poor guys, they've invested millions and millions of dollars to purchase this expensive, mining rigs to mine Bitcoin, and boom, the government comes in, the Communist Party of China comes in and completely shuts them down. So just devastating. The hash rate of Bitcoin has declined by 65%, which basically means it's 65% easier to mine a Bitcoin right now. So if you're a Bitcoin miner elsewhere, then this might actually be good news for you. And what's actually going to happen? Well, all of these Chinese miners, they're going to have to go somewhere else, right? And why is this actually good news? Well, 65% of all Bitcoin mining currently actually happens in China. So this is actually could be a good thing long term. Short term, it sucks, right? All this FUD is dropping the market like crazy. But should you actually be concerned about that? I'm going to cover that later on, okay? And what does the price forecast look like for Bitcoin? I'm going to cover that later on as well. But this is good because there's a decentralization of Bitcoin mining that will happen. A lot of miners are going to be coming to Texas. There's an abundance of renewable energy, as well as Miami. We've heard that all last week. I mean, the mayor of Miami is teasing Bitcoin miners with the promises of cheap nuclear energy, a lot of cool stuff. So this is actually, it sucks, but it's also going to be good long term, because we're not going to rely so much on China for Bitcoin mining, which, as you see, like, look, this is the problem with having so much Bitcoin mining in China, is that, like, when this news comes out, the market tanks, right? Well, if there's not so much concentration in China, then it won't really matter as much if this news comes out with whatever the Chinese Communist Party wants to do, right? Which, man, I am so thankful that I don't live in China. Second piece of news here: Agriculture Bank of China suspends crypto-related transactions and activities. What does this mean? Well, this is the third largest bank in all of Asia. It's a giant bank. And essentially what they've decided to do was ban crypto-related transactions. So if people have their money in the Agriculture Bank of China and they're wanting to send it to some broker to buy Bitcoin or any crypto-related brokerages or exchanges or anything like that, they're banning the payment. So this is massive FUD. And as we know, the Chinese Communist Party they want to control everything, right? They want to they want to control everything, and they know that Bitcoin they can't really control, and so this is all happening in China. And the beautiful thing about this, guys, is it is heart-wrenching for what's happening with Bitcoin in China. At the same time, Bitcoin is going to go wherever it's treated best, right? If that's in Paraguay, if that's in El Salvador, if that's in America, wherever it's treated best, Bitcoin's just going to go there, and it's going to continue. It's going to be really hard for somebody to actually stop Bitcoin, right? Unless they completely shut down the internet, which is not going to happen. And also, take a look at this. We talk about Bitcoin being shut down in China, but China shuts down everything. China shut down Facebook, China shut down Twitter, China shut down Google, I'm pretty sure. Like, all of this happens, yet these companies continue to expand like crazy, right? China just wants to have their own version of it, right? The Chinese digital yuan or whatever. So I don't think that, any of this happening in China is going to stop Bitcoin. It can't. It's going to be like a minor setback here when we look at it on the long term, okay? Now, let's also take a look at this, okay? Paraguayan lawmaker to present Bitcoin legislation next month aims to make Paraguay a global crypto hub. So they're kind of following in the footsteps of El Salvador that recently made Bitcoin legal tender. And again, the lawmaker here in Paraguay wants to make a hub for Bitcoin, which is really interesting. Now, here's something else. Billionaire Steve Cohen says, "I'm doing a deep dive into crypto. I'm fully converted. I'm not missing this." So while all this FUD is happening, the richest and some of the most smartest people in the world are all becoming converted into Bitcoin. I think they see what's happening in China, them banning it, and they see the huge opportunity. And this is, with Bitcoin, we have these astronomical rewards, which it's outperformed every other asset class in the world. But in order to get those rewards, you got to go through this crap, right? You got to go through 50% drawdowns and this crazy amount of FUD that happens in the market. While meanwhile, the smartest people in the world are going heavier and heavier into Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Iran government reportedly bans local blockchain associations. So there's a local blockchain association that they've supposedly banned, but this wasn't completely bad news. Actually, I'm trying to get a feel for Iran and what they want to do, but it seems like they're actually somewhat friendly towards Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. It says, following a summer ban for crypto mining, Iran is seeking healthy regulation for cryptocurrencies. The Iranian president said the country needs to legalize cryptocurrency activities to preserve and protect national interests. So he has called for a legal framework to be created in Iran, which again, energy is some of the cheapest in the world in Iran, which we could see a lot of Bitcoin miners moving or starting in Iran. Now, with all of this being said, right, this is just so funny. With all of this craziness being said, there's this guy, Michael Saylor, over at MicroStrategy that he just goes out and he purchases another $489 million worth of Bitcoin this morning. And this guy is just gobbling up Bitcoin anytime he gets the chance. He's raised debt to buy Bitcoin, and it's just crazy. This guy has balls of steel, and he's likely going to be rewarded. So yeah, he now owns a total of 92,000 Bitcoins at an average price of $26,000, which is really, really awesome. So with that being said, I wanted to show you one last thing. Like, I wanted to give you some perspective into what's really going on here. And by the way, if this video is helpful and you'd like to stay up to date, make sure that you like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. And also, if you'd like to get the news when it's breaking before I can make a YouTube video each day, and you'd like to get access to our trade ideas and a whole bunch of other cool stuff, then go over to blueedgefinancial.com and you can become a member. Okay, let's really take a look at this, because this might seem like crap, the world's ending, Bitcoin's ending, my investments are never going to return, whatever. Well, if you take a look at this and you just kind of back out a little bit, this is the log chart, weekly chart for Bitcoin, and you see what's happened here. It's like, okay, we're really like at this tiny little dip that's happened right here, where you see like we've had these dips before, right? And prices always continue to move higher. So it's like, well, it's really easy to get wrapped up in the short-term thinking. Investing and trading will become a lot less emotional if you kind of take a higher time frame perspective at what's actually happening. And also, if you look at this thing as like, hey, I'm in this Bitcoin thing for the next 5 years, then you're gonna have a lot different perspective than if you're just kind of looking at it, trading it within this year, right? So zoom out a little bit and that'll kind of ease your emotions, okay? So with all that being said, make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, turn on the post notifications, all of that good stuff. And please comment below. I'd like to hear what you think about this death cross happening. And with all this Chinese FUD coming out, I'd like to see what your opinion is in the comments below. We respond to all comments.